Well, Arm's out gallivanting through Europe. I saw he was at Alcaraz on Sunday morning. How about that? Wimbledon for Aram. Welcome back to the call up. As you say, your go-to prospect or your go-to podcast for everything about the future stars of Major League Baseball. Jack McMullen, I've got a fill-in for Aram Leighton here. Cooper Boardman is one of the play-by-play announcers for the Worcester Red Sox. I'm going to tee him up for the big intro here in a matter of moments, but telling you kind of like what we're going to go through is essentially a state of AAA baseball. And like the best prospects in AAA, we'll kind of talk about who we've seen. And I'm on the IL West side. Indy and Worcester have not overlapped at all. Like I don't know if I'm ever going to see my friend Cooper again. But he sees all the guys that I can't see. So like he got Ceddanne Rafaela for a couple of months, and he's seeing a junior Caminero and a Jasson Dominguez, and I don't get to get those looks in person live. And like I get those on the West side. So this will be a good kind of all-encompassing approach to AAA. But Cooper, I was asked by an older gentleman in Indy yesterday. The first question he asked was, "So tell me your story." And I was like, "Oh, that's a blank canvas. I don't know where to go here. I'm not going to do that to you. Where can we hear you, Worcester and otherwise?"
Yeah, well, you just got me nervous there with this. First of all, thank you. This is an honor to be here. This is very exciting. Are you Aram or am I Aram today?
I'm Aram today. You're
You're
Jack.
Aram. So I'm Jack.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Uh, no, so yeah, voice of the Worcester, one of the voices of the Worcester Red Sox since 2021. So we have seen a whole lot of iterations of Red Sox prospect development, some good, some not so good, but pretty good right now. And then you can catch me too on WEEI, do pregame and postgame with the Red Sox, and I would say that's a pretty good iteration of prospect development right now. So I'm juiced, man. Like I'm excited to like get into everybody. And I was going through like my scorebooks and some of the guys that I've seen,
Yeah.
and I think I had this thought that AAA like maybe wasn't as good as I thought it was, and then I was going through it, and I was like, all right, we can play with this.
Yeah, we can chat a little bit. So, in terms of timeline, like I think I've run through my timeline concretely on this show, but I'll just like do it again rapid fire. So, my first job in baseball, 2017, I was a production intern at WGN. So I was sitting in the back of the booth for Cubs and Sox
Oh
games.
yeah, brother.
18, I was out on the Cape. So Brewster, it was like Reed Detmers, Bobby Miller, Hunter Bishop, Dominic Canzone, all those guys were in Brewster. And I know that you were on the Cape too. 2019, I was in Auburn, New York with the Nats short season. 20 and 21, I was with Fort Wayne. And then 22 onwards, I've been in Indy. So that's college summer league, short season A ball, effectively low A, but 2020 doesn't count. High A in 21 and then triple A since 22. So give me the rundown because you started what, any CBL, is that right?
Yeah, 16, 17, Danbury Western. Shout out Rogers Park, Danbury, Connecticut. Two listeners are like, whoa. Jojo Gray, Danbury Westerner, 2016. Very good shortstop at that point, but he picked something better. 18, 19, Cape League Chatham. Alec Manoa, you know, Blake Sable, Spencer Torkelson, who at that point was about to go 1-1, Michael Bush, we were nasty, Hunter Gaddis, on and on. I'm leaving some people out too.
Okay, you got a
So
couple
that
others.
that team was incredible. 20, I sat here, and then 21 in Worcester, and on we go.
Got you. Okay. Now how does the Worcester thing work? Because it's like I know like Chef Carmy's never asking for more hands in that kitchen when it comes to the Worcester announcers. There's tons of manpower there. So what is the setup? So like if somebody tunes into a Worcester Red Sox game, how are they going to get Cooper Boardman?
Yeah, so we're like, what's a good prospect comp? We're like the Guardians with middle infielders. Like
Good.
we just got people. Uh,
Good.
so we're on Nesson or Nesson Plus, depending on the night. If Sox play, we're on Nesson Plus, full TV broadcast. You pop in, 6 game series. You'll see me there one or two times doing the television play-by-play, one or two times doing the sideline down there near the dugout, like from the clubhouse and all that, and then a couple times doing the radio, which is on the Worcester Red Sox radio network. Check it out. So we got it all going on, man. It's a hell of a place to be.
Okay. Favorite guy that you have interacted with in your time? Because obviously, like if you're on field, I mean, you're getting these guys in the moment. That's something like I've never been able to do. But like,
It's so fun. It's the answer is Tristan Casas, and I've been beating the Tristan Casas drum before like he went on national TV and did whatever that
yeah,
was.
talked about his bowel movements and all that. Yeah,
Yeah, the thing I will say about him is like, and I think again, this is a prospect conversation, but we'll get there. But like everything that you think he might be, or you might think that like this whole thing is fake from him, or you might not think that he's like genuine because it's like, or he's trying to be fun. No, like that's who he is. That was who he is when he came from Portland. Before you knew who he was laying in the outfield. He was saying whatever the hell he was saying. And I remember standing there, like we're next to the dugout and like watching this dude 2 weeks into AAA, like take dry hacks like alone in the corner of the dugout. Like he was like in his own spot. And it's just like, oh yeah, like now he's good. So you're all seeing it nationally. But like
right.
that, I remember like cackling laughing in 2022.
That okay, so that's really good to hear because that guy is unapologetically
It's
him, and
absurd.
by no means is it a show for the massive crowd. It's just like, hey, this is who he is, and he's going to do him.
This is the drum. I'm beating the drum.
I absolutely love that. All right, we're going to get into the players and all that here in a moment, but you and I are sitting through the experimental phase of AAA baseball at this point. And I think the clearest cut way that you see the experimental phase kind of shown in minor league baseball is the challenge system, obviously. And it's something that I'm sure everybody listening to this knows the gist of. And you've probably seen the video. Of like Jasson Dominguez in the fall league. I think that's when it first like kind of made its rounds where he taps the top of his helmet. And much like where Arm's at right now, it's very Wimbledon. Like it's very like slow clap and you get to see. And we'll see, does the call stand? Is it overturned? There was a pertinent change in the International League for the second half of this season. And I think it's a change for the better. And I kind of want to get your assessment on it 2 weeks into this change. At the halfway point of the season, we went from the old rhythm of 3-3, so full ABS for the Tuesday through Thursday games. So umpire wearing an earpiece, like a Siri type voice is telling him ball or strike. And frankly, like it's no fun and there's no malleability to the strike zone. Friday through Sunday, we got the ABS challenge system, and there were 3 available challenges to be lost for each side. Now we scrap the full ABS entirely, which like that was never going to be in the show. Like I can appreciate that we just scrapped the full ABS entirely. And we go down to 2 available challenges instead of 3. And through 2 weeks, I personally love it because the strategy of deploying the challenges is like so much more present than just being like tap happy and it's like, oh, we got our third challenge of the inning
Yeah.
here and there's nobody on and it's a 4-run game. Like I really like the strategy here. So I ask you, like, is this the thing that you have deemed most big league ready when it comes to the AAA process?
Shortest answer, yes. Period. Yes. 100% with you. Um, I think to answer your question with a question, because that's always fun, is like, I, what do we want, right? Like, what is this actually about? And to me, the challenge system is not about getting everything right, is not about changing the value of framing, it's not like about any of those things. It's about like when you open Twitter X, when you open, your phone and you go to umpire auditors or like whatever you're scrolling
Yeah.
through and you're seeing insert umpire here missing by 4 inches and every comment is what a joke, Major League Baseball is a joke, and it's like that's bad for the game, right? Like I think that is the part of this that is like by any like I don't think anybody wants that.
No.
Umpires don't want it, players don't want it, certainly Major League Baseball doesn't want it. And to me, I look at the challenge system as what the NBA did, where they give you one and it's used at the end of game when it needed it the most, because the NBA at that point, right, like you're seeing the slow motion foul calls deciding a game, and that was bad for the NBA.
Yeah.
The full ABS, like I think it's a waste of time to talk about it. We're never going to do it. It was bad. I will never get that time back of watching ball after ball.
So agreed fully. And quick interjection here. That is why you see the heightened walk numbers
Oh
around
yeah.
AAA baseball. Like I think league average walk rates right now are 4.8, 4.9 walks per nine.
Yeah,
which is just insane.
it's 8% at the major league level. It's 11% in AAA.
Crazy.
It's like, and that's also like, as we talk about these prospects, and like I have this in my mind a lot where it's like, oh, I see a guy with a 12%. And I'm like, wow, like what a great like on
It's
base
slightly
guy.
above average. Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
essentially
no,
9%.
yeah, like he got lucky. Um, but like that's the reality. And they wanted it for the sample size, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Three challenges was the difference between two. And I had this conversation with our manager in Worcester yesterday. Like we kind of like dug into it. The difference between 2 and 3 challenges is astronomical. Like, and I think that I'm trying to contextualize it for people because like unless you've lived it, it's a little bit hard to believe that it would be that big of a difference. But 3 was, to your point, firing off one in the 7th inning with nobody on in a, I don't know, 1-1 count in a 7-run game. And it's just like, shut up. Like, I don't want this. Like, nobody, baseball doesn't want this. But the 2 challenges, like, I don't know if you noticed this the last 2 weeks, arguments are back, baby. Like, they were not really much of a thing for the good portion of the season. And all of a sudden, you can't burn a challenge early because if you get it wrong, then all of a sudden, you're basically playing a regular baseball game the rest of the way. The strategy is so different, and arguments are back. It's the closest thing to the major league game that we have seen since this all got implemented. I think 2 is the perfect number. I think 1 would be too few. I think 2 is the absolute perfect number.
I think so too. And I love that point that you bring up because like really what I miss about, baseball in general is like, do you remember growing up playing like MVP baseball 2005, 2004? And if there was a close call, whether it was like on the bases or, like strike 3 or something, you could like hold a button for the severity of the argument. And it's like
Yeah.
held like it was locked. Your manager was getting tossed. Like, yeah, I love that. And frankly, like, that's something that I think there is a place in the game for. Like that is
Totally.
part of the show that people show up for. I don't love if a manager gets tossed, twice a week, but like they pick their spots and that's their job to pick their spots appropriately.
What's good for baseball? Like keep, right? Like that being the driving force here.
And I think it's the blend of human error with umpires and, kind of that vetting process that can come with human error. So you still have a place for human error in the ball game, but like, hey, to de-escalate a big moment, and instead of like 3-2 bases loaded, 2 outs, 1-run game, like a blown call costing that, if a team played their cards right, they can always get the right answer in those big moments. And I think that's so important.
Exactly in that exact moment, you are at any point able to get the right answer. And the wonderful thing about the challenge system is, well, if you're out of challenges, it's not on the umpire, it's on you.
It's on you.
You botched. Like it's, but that's the real reality of it. And then, again, you see the thing that I have gained a genuine appreciation for. This is a boring thing to say. Like people don't want to hear this. The umpires are good. Like the umpires are generally pretty good. Like, and I'm sorry, like that doesn't line up with narratives. That doesn't line up with like, watching Laz Diaz, Angel Hernandez, whatever. Like it doesn't line up that way, but it's actually true. And like we're watching an umpire, a AAA that is on average worse than a major league umpire. But the reality is like they're right a lot of the time.
Mhm.
And I think what I gained an appreciation of is that they're better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
And I think that will happen at the major league level in 2026.
Yeah. And I like that there is that immediate ego check where it's like, hey, an umpire's really good and a guy doesn't want his AB wasted, but like, hey man, you took a bad pitch to
I
take.
want an umpire equivalent of a bat flip, like in these situations. Like you challenge me, you have things to say. The umpire gets to say, hey, if you don't challenge, well, you don't really think it's that bad of a call. And if you're out of challenges, the umpire gets to say, well, I was right twice, and you guys, go back to the dugout. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. All right. We'll jump into the players. We took about 14 minutes and 20 seconds before we actually jump into the players. But I do want to talk about the one guy that I'm not going to bring up, or that I'm going to bring up, that has graduated from prospect status and like is officially a big leaguer at this point. He is in the American League Rookie of the Year race, which is I think pretty thin. Like the rookie class, especially with Yamamoto going down, is tough. And it seems like Skeens is gonna run away with the National League Rookie of the Year, but the American League Rookie of the Year, it really feels wide open. And a guy that I think can have a massive second half is Ceddanne Rafaela, who I know that you saw for a bulk of last season. And I was talking with Josh Wetzel, who's the play-by-play guy for the Rochester Red Wings, which is the Nats AAA affiliate. And he
Goat.
said this year, best guy in the league is James Wood. And I'm like, I agree. You know, he's Arm's number one prospect in baseball. He's just baseball's number one prospect. But he said the guy last year on their side of the league that was the best player and the one to watch on the eastern side of the International League was Ceddanne Rafaela. Why do you think he said that?
So the first answer to that is what floor is, right? Like, how do you define floor? His floor is unbelievable, right? If he didn't hit anything, he would be a Gold Glove defender. He would be a Gold Glove defender in center field. He has not been plus plus at shortstop this year. He didn't play shortstop in the minor leagues for the end of the minor leagues. And they asked him to do, you know, what the Red Sox shortstop situation is. And so he's ended up in that spot. He can be a better shortstop than he's been. So before he swings a bat, before he, you know, if the average OPS on base and slug is 0, he is already in a big league conversation. So that's one. Two is the average on base slugging and OPS are nothing like that. And the way that he impacts the baseball is unbelievable. He is the most unique prospect I've had the pleasure of seeing for an extended period of time at AAA because he doesn't walk. So it's like what you see is what you get. If he hits, then he hits. If he doesn't hit, then he gives you pretty much nothing offensively. But he's going to slug enough to live. Like that was what was surprising us at AAA. Like he slugged at AA a little bit, but like he was not consistent power the other way. I mean, obviously he's going to turn on some stuff. Everybody is. But he showed up at AAA and he hit for power and he hit velocity for power. He hits good pitching for power. He's got that Deversy quality where like if it's not a good pitch, he still might mash it. And he's doing that. And then the thing that I think people, because like he came to the big leagues, he struggled. He had a bad month, right? And then congrats, like he's a rookie. Then he shows up in month number 2 and it's better and better. Then it's like a bad 2 weeks, then it's a good 2 weeks. This is who he is, right? Like this is who he is when he's been at his best. It's going to be bad, it's going to be good. But the highs are so high.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, okay, like what if the high was 4 weeks long? Then you're talking about a guy who right now, this is top ahead, but I think it's a 680 OPS somewhere in there. What if it's 4 weeks of good? And then all of a sudden you're sitting there looking at what he just slugged in 4 weeks and his OPS is like 830. And this is with the month at the beginning of the season. I think that is no question out of the realm of possibility for him. And like, man, I honestly didn't think it was going to be this good this fast. Like the last month, like I didn't really think that. And I was wrong.
Got you. So like, I think a lot of people saw the contract immediately and was like, oh, that makes sense. Especially if you were a prospect follower and you knew that he had a 70 borderline 80 glove. And he could play center and short. Brian Hayes got 8 for 70. And I know the Pirate reasoning for that was the glove's going to pay for that. And anything on top of that is bonus. Rafaela got 8 for 50. And like, I think it's the same exact conversation. The glove's going to pay for $50 million over 8 years. Like the only
sense.
Yeah. Like the only question is, does the bat elevate him to being a $90 million player or a $100 million player in this market?
And what a wonderful gamble to take. Like that is actually a no brainer. And like people, in Red Sox land, and I take calls like all the time for EI and post game and all this. And
when
like
he goes 0 for 4, it's like, why do we pay this guy?
Yeah. He chased the slider 4 feet out of the zone, like all this.
Yeah.
And shoot, man, like to your point, like if the glove is there, he's already worth being on your roster. The speed is there, like the athleticism is there. He's already worth being on your roster. Yep. And then, oh, by the way, like he can actually pop. I don't know. I have trouble. I love walks. Like I have a little bit of trouble asking a guy to hit enough for him to be a superstar. Like his batting average is going to have to be 300 plus for him to be a superstar. Yep. But if it's 260, he is worth way more than the contract that you just said.
Yeah, man. I mean, in May, he hit 239 with a 263 on base.
Yeah.
In June, he hit 315 with a 344 on base.
Yeah.
And like in June, he was awesome because he hit 315. But, we talk about
What did
that.
what did he slug in June?
In June, he slugged 393. He
Yeah.
slugged
That's the
435 in May.
Yeah. That's
So,
the
like,
and if he's there, that's where the value in the contract. That's the question around 50 mil. Like, is he worth more or is he in that realm? But the base is 50.
Major league average OPS at this point, I think it's 704. And like
Right.
if he's 704 or if he's keeping track with major league average year in and year out, that contract pays for itself, man.
Totally.
I want to jump to some of the prospects here, especially when it comes to the Red Sox side, because you guys are eagerly awaiting the arrival of many. And I've been keeping tabs on the Portland Sea Dogs, and I know that you have been keeping very, very close tabs on the Portland Sea Dogs. And you were in Fort Myers for spring training for a bit, and I'm not sure if Christian Campbell came to the front of your mind, but like the big three is Teal, Meyer, Anthony, right? My first question on the Sox has to do with Christian Campbell. Are you like as excited for him now as like the other three, just because you're like, okay, he's standing on his head. What's he gonna do when he gets here?
Like, what the hell is this? I mean, seriously, like this, like I live, eat, breathe Red Sox minor league baseball. Like this is my life. Like this is I can tell you everything. I can tell you about what Marcelo Meyer ate for breakfast. Like,
Right.
and
What
I
did he,
don't like who say it again.
what did he eat for breakfast, by the way?
It was like overnight oats.
Gus. Cool. Cool.
Yeah. Protein pack, baby.
Yeah, man.
Dude, like Christian Campbell, you're sitting there in May and like looking at, at what's going on beneath AAA, and you're like, what is this? Like, who is this? And then you sit down and you watch him play. And I'm a sucker for a funky swing. I'm a sucker for a guy that it just doesn't look right. And like it doesn't look right at all. But I think we had a conversation with Brian Abraham, who's the director of the farm for the Red Sox, and they saw his power. They felt like he could do it, but I think, and he didn't explicitly say this, so I'm not quoting him, but the feeling with him and the feeling with a number of other people in the organization is that even they are a little bit surprised at how good he has been, and like that's cool. That's a good thing. But it's a very interesting moment in Red Sox player development. Major League Club is deciding whether it's buy or sell. That guy ceiling you wonder, like, will it ever be higher than it is in this exact moment? And so like that context for what he's doing, and the context is he's been unbelievable, as you know, and the numbers have been amazing. Yeah. And he's done it at multiple levels now, like real levels, is really interesting to me. And the next 2 weeks are very interesting to me with him.
Yeah, so it's fascinating to kind of follow that track because the Pirates have a guy right now in Charles McAdoo, and we talked about McAdoo at this point too, and both those guys ended up on our first half all MILB team, and like McAdoo was a guy that kind of popped out of nowhere, and the question then becomes, okay, are you going to blossom into a guy that is a legitimate prospect and a guy that has staying power in the major leagues? Or is it going to be a Wade Meckler thing in San Francisco? Like, remember when Meckler just skyrocketed last year?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, he hit 400 and double, and then he hit 400 and triple. So, like, we might as well just ride the hot hand and get him up. And it didn't go well. And, like, Meckler, I don't think even at that point you would have said, oh, Wade Meckler factors into the Giants' long-term plans. It was just riding a hot hand. So you hope that it's more than that. But, like, in terms of the ceiling of who Christian Campbell is, do you think it's similar to the ceiling of like what a Vaughn Grissom is? Or, I mean, it's kind
What is a Vaughn Grissom?
I have no idea. It's like, and I'm sure you're still trying to figure out what Vaughn Grissom is too.
And I absolutely am, right? Like, is this a major leaguer? Like, is this an everyday producing major leaguer? I think Vaughn Grissom is. And so if the ceiling for him is Vaughn Grissom, I think that's a more than fine ceiling. And also this is top of head, and I'll look at Vaughn's numbers, but like I think Christian Campbell is a better on base consideration. I know it's early on base consideration than Grissom is. I mean, you're talking about walk rates for Grissom that are, those are single digit walk rates versus, double digits for Campbell so far. So again, it's like, where do you set your floor? Like, where do you, like, his floor has gotten considerably higher, not just because he's hitting, but because he's getting on base. And obviously the slug is there and that's all great. I think if we're sitting here in like 3 weeks, I don't think the double A sample size is big enough to like be like, okay, is this, I mean, it's 26 games as we sit here and record this, right? At double A. So who knows what, 26 games means nothing to me.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about in 3 weeks that he has really taken this jump over an extended period of time, he changes his paradigm. He changes from okay, like this is one of the better prospects in the organization to like, and again, Meyer, Teal, Anthony, and they get unfairly grouped. We'll get to that probably. But like, is he 5? Is he 4? I don't. I think that is an entirely reasonable number of questions to be asking.
Yeah. Christian Campbell, first 115 plate appearances in Double A, 406, 504, 635. I do want to get to Meyer, Teal, Anthony now. Why do you think they are unfairly grouped?
So they're three different situations, right? Like, and so, and you know what's funny is I'm going to say all this, they're going to get called up together, I think.
Yeah, no, I know it. And like I made the joke to Aram, I think last week. I was like, they're all going to debut at the same exact time, right?
100%. Being in Worcester, Massachusetts right now is like being the guy who was a day early to Woodstock. Like you're just waiting for everyone to arrive. And shoot, man, it's going to be awesome when Woodstock starts. And I think you're looking at, for the Red Sox fans out there, and I don't have crazy inside information to be very clear, but like, I think you're probably looking at post futures game. You're going to see most of them, if not all of them. And that's going to be great. Unfairly grouped because they're just three very different situations. Like, I think, so Marcelo and anybody who's listening to this knows his deal, right? Like where last year is basically a lost season. Like he was hurt. It's not real. I don't think you can look at anything he did offensively when injured or fighting through. And then that situation, like, I don't think you can look at any of that and say, yeah, this is who this guy is. Because when he's been healthy, he's been better than you. Like he's just been amazing. Yeah. And this guy for me, like is ready. Like it's just like he's high exit velocity all the time. Like everything he hits is mashed. When he's been healthy, he's been stupid good. And he's young. And so like that's his situation. And that's his deal. Yeah. Roman Anthony, right? Like 2023 is amazing, like has this meteoric rise. It's not unlike the Christian Campbell hype right now, at least like internally here in Red Sox land. Everybody says like he gets a fastball. Oh my God. Like it's just right. What he does is what he does. And like his approach, like from the people, I've never talked to him, but I've watched him play from behind a chain link fence in Fort Myers. Talked to a lot of people who've talked around him and like, he was high school teammates with Kobe Mayo, right? In Florida. And like there's, Douglas, I think. Yeah, right. Like and you think about everybody that has been that has come out of there, and like that's a professional world. Like that guy has lived in a professional world for a long time, and he carries that with him. So like that right there is like Meyer and Anthony are already very different people, and then you factor in Kyle Teal, college bat, who's like old, like he's an adult, like
geezer. Yeah.
I think Kyle Teal could play in the major leagues this year. And that's a take that might be a little bit of a push, but like if you look at where the Red Sox are at, Connor Wong's been awesome. He's going to get the majority of the days. And Reese McGuire went 3 for 31 in the month of June. And that's a little prisoner of the moment, but I don't really think it is. And so I think there's a possibility you could see Teal if they feel like he defensively can live, and I don't know. But if they feel like defensively he can live at the big league level, you're talking about a guy that really could wear Red Sox uniform this year. Maybe. We'll see. Meyer and Anthony are probably not in that conversation. They might be, but probably not. And so like they're all grouped together, but like I know it's like player development-y to say like, well, they're their own person. Like they're their own thing. But they are. Like they really are.
Yeah. No, fair. And like I know that everybody's going to say that, and it's like, oh yeah, they're all their own unique individual, and they're going to ascend the levels and mature at different rates. Okay, but if you have the opportunity to make the PR point of debuting Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, and Kyle Teal on the same damn day, you're going to think about doing it because the Red Sox can pitch the the future is here. The future is now. And like that is the level, that's the layer of thinking that I think that we ignore consistently. Now, it timed up really well for the Pirates last year when I saw Quinn Priester and Endy Rodriguez make their debut on the same day. Like Endy caught Priester last year. And it was a really good pitch for Pirates fans where it's like young guys are coming together. Like, yeah, look at this. And I feel like that is kind of the layup for the Red Sox to make. But I'm with you. Like, if anybody's going to win that quote unquote race to the big leagues, it's probably Teal.
Yeah, older makes sense. Position makes sense. I think it's pretty simple. To your point, like the Red Sox have winter weekend every year in Springfield, Massachusetts. Come to a casino, everybody hangs out, everybody does whatever they do, and yeah, and they brought those three guys. Like this is, that's the spot that has been reserved for Chris Sale sitting up there over the last few years. The spot that has been, the Raffy when he's been in Xander and JD Martinez, like and all these guys that have like rotated through over 5 years. Those guys were there. That tells you, they're their own people. I'm completely contradicting myself. They're also roommates and friends. And they're also like, they bought shoes together with Nick York. They have like Kobe's that are matching. Like they're like all this stuff. Like it's impossible not to separate them as hard as I am trying to do it for the benefit of other people.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, we're going to bounce around the league in a moment
Please.
here. But before that, quick break. All right, Cooper, here's the deal. Before we get back into it, I'm going to make you sit through an ad read because you agreed to be the guest host on this show. So you are going to sit through actually a really cool thing that we're going to talk about here. So it's not an ad read. It's like really cool. The All-Star game and the festivities around them, obviously, like they're always a landmark event during the Major League Baseball season. But this year's All-Star break just got that much bigger for us at Just Baseball. We're super excited to be hosting our first ever live baseball collectibles charity auction, hosted exclusively on eBay Live during Major League All-Star Weekend. It's a 2-day event, Sunday, July 14th, Monday, July 15th at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central in Arlington at Playball Sports Cards and Memorabilia. It's like maybe a block from Globe Life and All-Star Fan Fest. And again, it is streaming live on eBay Live. It'll be benefiting various charities like Conant's Clubhouse, the Baseball Island Foundation, the Bueller Family Foundation, and more. Auction items, cards, memorabilia, other collectibles from brands like CGC Cards, Onyx Authenticated, Bleecker Trading, Homage, and more. I mentioned the Onyx Vintage Collection here. They gave us autos from like Skeens, Bazana, Condon, Burns, about 10 more guys that are going to go in the top 10, 15 picks of the MLB draft to auction off literally like the day of the first round of the day after the first round. All three of us are going to be there. We'd love for you to come by, say hello, and enter to win exclusive event merch and giveaways if you're in the Dallas, Arlington area. But if not, this event is best experienced online at eBay Live, where you can get in on the action. So we would love to interact with you in there. Again, July 14 and 15, 4 o'clock Eastern in Arlington at Playball Sports Cards and Memorabilia and exclusively on eBay Live. We hope to talk to you there. You better hop in the eBay Live.
I'll be there, man. I'll be, I'm guest hosting, right? So like, I got to be nice about some things. And you were going to do an ad read, and I was going to be like, "That sounds like a cool product, Jack." And like, I was there. And then you were halfway through and you started saying it, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's actually cool.
It's actually cool.
It's
So that's
actually
a seal of approval. It means nothing, but there you go.
I'm in. Let's talk about the Norfolk Tides, man. And I don't think we're auctioning off any Jackson Holiday, Kobe Mayo, anything like that. But you got to see Holiday, Mayo, Kjerstad, I think all when they were standing on their head. And I know that Holiday's been out for a little bit. Mayo was out for about a month. But what the hell was that experience like? Calling that Norfolk team where you've got like that's the best minor league lineup that we've seen in years.
So I have seen, and this goes back to last year, 2023 and 2024, the International League scheduling gods have bestowed upon us like the absolute joy of seeing these dudes. I've seen them 4 times. I've seen over the last 2 years, they've come there, we've gone there, and I've gone there. And I've seen them 24 times, I guess. Like it's and I can't imagine getting to see them every day.
Right.
It's like nothing else. It's, I said Woodstock earlier about what I think Meyer Teal Anthony might be like. There's nothing like this. And I'm sure you saw it with Skeens for like it's, we had it with like when Brian Bayo came through and he was meteoric at the time. And I know,
Yeah.
so bad time for this, right? July 7th, 2024. But when he came through, it was like every 5 days, it was an event. It
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. Watching those dudes play, that's what it's like every day, 150 times over and over and over again. And I do like, I really don't mean this as hyperbole. It's going to come out like, oh yeah, he likes the Norfolk Tides. Great. I was sitting there in Norfolk watching these guys, and it was pre-holiday last year, but it was
Well, but
cursed out.
like you got Grayson on the hill too. That was
Yeah, yeah. I had G-Rod after he came back down. He was unbelievable. And that was like when he was figuring his stuff out. So like that was cool to like watch him do it in game. It was pre-Cowser call up, obviously. It was Westberg pre-call up. So like all these guys that are real now, like at the time was like, oh my God. But I remember sitting there being like, oh my God, like I'll never see anything like this again. And maybe it'll be the White Sox, we'll see Charlotte in 6 years or whatever. Sorry to do that. But like, like maybe it'll be like that. But I truly like it felt like you'll never see anything like this again.
yeah. Hey, who jumped? Like it's crazy to ask this question, but like who jumped out to you?
Kerstad.
Kerstad.
Kerstad. And it's funny because like he's not the forgotten man. None of them are forgotten.
He's not forgotten, but like I would have assumed you would have said like a Mayo. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Mayo jumped out in a way that, he's a top 10 prospect for us at just baseball. And I know that he's in like the high teens, low 20s in some other places. I feel like if you watch this guy play live over the course of a week, you side with us selfishly. How are there, 15 guys that are better than him in minor
Yeah.
league baseball? But why did Kerstad jump out?
So, and I will say this, like I saw Mayo hit 2 bombs in a week. I saw Holiday walk 1,000 times in a week. I saw Stowers hit a couple of bombs. I saw, oh my God,
He's now the franchise leader in career homers, Kyle Stowers. Like, get him out of there. Trade him now, please. He's a big leaguer.
I would love them to honor him. I would just love to see the ceremony.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Harvard Park. Thank you. Nah, man, like so I saw that and I was gonna say all the good things that I saw from Cowser
Right.
and
Westbrook. Yeah.
Westberg. Yeah, you got it. Kerstad was just he looked like somebody that all those guys didn't look like they belonged to AAA. He looked another step beyond not living at AAA. And I saw a very good week. I saw doubles, I saw triples, I saw oppo, I saw pull side power and all of this. But like, guys talk so much, and you and I know this because like you talk to dudes and they talk about the game slowing down.
Yeah.
And the game at that point, and this is 2023, so this is pre-call up and like go up, go down. What's he playing in? Like 15, 16 major league games this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And the game was already slow. And I just have this belief based on that, based on what I saw the week after and the third time that we saw him. Guys go up to the big leagues. They have their short experience. Most of them come back down. When they come back down, they're better. They walk more. They're more patient. They're better than the game. They go back up. That's when they start having success. Guys like that.
Yeah.
I can't believe that won't happen for him. Like, I can't believe that the 16, 15 games, whatever it is that he went up there, what he's doing now, the numbers are good because obviously they're good. They're all good. But you just can't tell me the next time he goes up there, he's not going to annihilate people. I just can't believe that wouldn't be true.
Yeah, fair. And obviously he got off to this great start, in his last recall. And, you think he's probably there to stay. If not, he's the best prospect moved at the deadline. So that makes perfect sense. Pitching wise on Norfolk, I'm sure you got to see Povich and McDermott.
Yeah, I saw a little bit. I didn't see McDermott. I saw Povich. And
Okay.
I it is funny because it's like on this team of stars, like how do you possibly like discern around these guys? So I saw Grayson, right? And he was incredible. And like he's obvious, right? Like he is you can sit there and you can be like, look at the ride, look at the carry, look at the fastball, you can't hit him, look at all that other stuff. And at that point, he was, he was just in this other universe. I wasn't that overwhelmed by Povich. I think it's hard, right? Like you see a guy in one start and it's hard to be like, wow, like, but you can look at stuff. And I don't know. this is easy because I just watched him get shelled. What was that, yesterday, 2 days ago, whatever, whenever it was. Um, but I didn't see somebody that felt dominant in the way that Rodriguez has felt dominant, in the way that, and we'll get to some of these other names. I thought Ricky Tiedemann was dominant. Guys like that. And this level's weird because it can play tricks on you, right? Like hitters are, some of them are really capable of hitting the best stuff possible. Most of them are not. And so it's like, how do you do against the best guys? And short time I saw him, he did not answer that question for me.
Gotcha. And like, frankly, he doesn't answer that question for me to the level that McDermott does. And I think that there are a lot of AAA and big league hitters that can beat Povich if they execute what they need to execute. And, especially at the major league level. But with McDermott, like he's one of those guys that when I watch it, it feels like McDermott's competition is Chase McDermott, and sometimes that's it. And when you get to the big leagues, like there may be a time where like a hitter can just beat him because they're better, but I mean, McDermott, like I don't see a hitter in AAA that's better than Chase McDermott. But I want to go to Tiedemann here because you mentioned domination. You're like one of the four guys that's ever seen Tiedemann. So it seems because like he's not throwing. So I want to ask you: Is he real? Is he a real person that like has taken a mound before?
I saw him.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Honest to God, how big is he? Yeah. All right, you spit out your water.
Yeah. He long, man. Like
He's long.
it's just I pride myself on being the longest, skinniest man on this podcast. And like, oh my God, it's like he walks out there, it's just gangle.
It's so the delivery is very saily, is it not? Like it's
Yeah.
very whippy, and you could see how that can result in a lot of flare-ups, left and right. But I mean, when he's on the hill, man, like, was there anybody that was good enough to match up with him?
No, and it was like we saw him in a short, right? Like because he was hurt. I don't know if you've heard, he gets hurt sometimes. Like, and so we saw him come out, and so I think he threw like 2 innings. Like it was not a full start. And it's like, okay, so like what's the scout say? Scout says in zone swing and miss, right? Like he throws good stuff in the zone, good luck, hit it or don't. And like generally you don't. And okay, you're there. He shows up and you're like, okay, like I'm excited to watch this guy miss bats today. And then you see the deception, and the fastball is like not an overwhelming velocity. I think it's got pretty decent carry.
Yeah, I mean, he'll run it up to 98 or so, but like it is, yeah, it's typically like 95, 96.
Right. And obviously, like, especially in AAA, that's a very good fastball. But like, so it's the sweeper I thought was like on the particular cold April day that we saw him, like it was okay. And he didn't really use his changeup. And the only thing that I walked out saying two things. One is, wow, like I'd like to watch him pitch a lot. I'd like to watch him pitch on a July day. I'd like to watch him pitch over 5 innings. I'd like to see what the third trip through the lineup actually looks like with 3 pitches.
And you're asking questions that like we haven't gotten answers to yet.
Right. And it's like, I mean, like I'm doing this top of my head. Like he's thrown 40 innings in a season, like 50 innings in a season, like somewhere. He's never thrown triple digit innings even close. Right. Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
And where I get a little hung up, and this is a total organizational thing, is I don't really see how he's gotten better. And I've seen a lot of it from afar. I don't see how the Blue Jays have made this dude better. And I don't see the Blue Jays have made really anybody better pitching wise. Sorry. And I know they revamped their pitching like in the last year or so. Maybe we're going to get more long-term results, but like
you make a good point. Like Manoah, I think we knew that he was like that caliber out of college. And then you think about a Nate Pearson, like they didn't do Pearson any favors. I
haven't.
Right. Like haven't done Pearson any favors. Like they really, like, you look at that rotation, man. Barrios came up in Minnesota. Gosman came up elsewhere. Kikuchi came up elsewhere. Bassett obviously came up elsewhere. And, like I'm with you, man.
And then the bullpen, like I think, and the Blue Jays have been like a top end, like not highest end, but like I'm just like top 15 bullpen, top 12 bullpen over the last 5 years, except this year. And like, I think you talk about everybody wants to have their opinion on the Blue Jays project, right? And like why it's not working and all of this. You ask me, like, I think maybe the number one thing and the most underrated thing about it is like, they can't develop any arms, like not just rotation wise, but like bullpen wise. Like you look at where they are, they've always been on like the 9, 10, 11 ERA, FIP, like whatever it is out of the bullpen. And these guys like they've always been on the outside looking in. They've always been behind the Mariners. They've always been behind the Astros, behind the Yankees, behind, and like those are the teams that they've actually been behind in the world over the last, 5 years, 6 years. Anyway, the actual point from the prospect conversation here is with Tiedemann, it's like, I believe in him. I believe in the stuff. The deception is awesome. Like, I think I would not want to stand there and try to hit off of him, especially being a lefty, whatever. But like, what's next? Like, how does he, and I know health is one of the questions, but like, how do you make this person better? And until the Blue Jays prove that they can actually do that, I have a lot of trouble buying that stock. I have a lot of trouble.
That's such a unique point. And like it's a point that we just don't talk about. And it's like, oh, I would love to see this guy healthy because that's the easiest box to look at. And it's like, yeah, that's the box that we need to see checked. But then what's the box after that? And I think you just ID the box after that, where it's like, okay, you're healthy, you can make it through 5, you can make it through 6. Now what? And I think you just laid out the now what question.
It's I like, what is their best? I don't mean to bash them, like, but I do. Is
No,
like
like
Bowden Francis? Like, is that where the hat hangs?
like it's tough, man. When you talk about homegrown, yeah, I mean, if Manoa counts, like I guess, but
Yeah. But
yeah,
also it's July 7th, 2024. Like or July 8th, 2024, whatever. Like and just the last thing on this, like
yeah,
I think it's top of mind for me because I am living in the Red Sox organization and we are in like pitching Vivaldi right now. Like it's like everything is different, right? Like everything has changed. I've seen this organization go into the 22nd century. Like
yeah.
and to see it's one thing like to know what metrics mean. It's another thing to like know processes. It's another thing to see guys respond to it. And like I'm watching guys respond to it. I'm sure you are too in Pittsburgh. Like I if you're not doing that and the Blue Jays have not been doing that and the Red Sox were not doing it, you're behind. And guys like Ricky Tiedemann are not going to be close to the people that you think that they can be based on the stuff that they have.
So whenever I chat with, and I'm hoping you guys are going to hear probably on Wednesday a sit down with Braxton Ashcraft, and I'm very excited to chat with him there. But like, if you guys listen to the conversation with Skeens, it's clear that he's given all the information that he may want, and it's just a matter of using it. And what I feel like you're saying right now is Craig Breslow and the brass in Boston now is supplying all that information for the pitchers to have if they so choose to have it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not making you do anything,
No.
but they have identified with every single person. Here's the thing you need to do. You can do. Like it's so often it's just jumping on a strength. And like for Tiedemann, right? Like we're talking about fastball, sweeper, changeup. He's using that changeup like less than 15% of the time. I don't really understand how you could be a major league starter with that combination and be successful 3 times through an order.
Unless
Maybe
you're
I'm wrong.
Strider, unless they're both 70, 80 grade pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You're asking a lot. You're just putting a lot of pressure on those pitches. And so it's like if he's in the Red Sox organization, and again, like I'm not in this dude's mind, I'm not in his training program. I'm not going to pretend like I am. But like if he's in the Red Sox organization, like if we're talking about a real four-seam fastball, like why isn't there something more north-south? Like I know there's a change up there, but like or why isn't the change up better? Or what like just what is there? Like and I just and he's not pitched enough to answer these questions either. So like maybe they're doing it, but like until they do it, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Got you. Fair. Okay. I've already kept you what 45 minutes. So I want to go rapid fire and I'm gonna
Please.
ask you like a whole bunch of like random hitter questions with guys that you've seen over the last year and change. Okay.
Sure.
Staying on the Blue Jays. You are the GM of an expansion team in let's call it. You want to go Charlotte, Salt Lake, or Nashville? Where you want your team?
I want to go to Nashville, and
Okay.
a hot take.
Not hot. Nashville. All right. You're the GM of an expansion team in Nashville. You have the choice between one of Addison Barger and Orelvis Martinez, assuming no PED pop. Who are you going with?
Or Elvis Martinez. Or Elvis Martinez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm a kind of a Barger hater. Sorry.
So I used to be, but then I
Okay.
realized that like all the moving parts just result in loud contact, and there's not as much whiff as I thought that there was going to be.
Okay. I just like I there's been a hole, and like I've seen it for a lot of years now, where it's like if you're gonna pull the ball 50% of the time the way that he does, like you have to get a lot right all the time. And like I just for me it's like Martinez, like, and I this is a complete and utter oversimplification on who he is, but like he bangs the ball everywhere, like everywhere. And I've seen him absolutely annihilate us, like, and so I'm a little bit biased in it, but like he goes oppo with power. Like he goes on the ground with power. He lines it with power. And not that Barger doesn't. And I've seen him go the other way at 95 plus, but I don't see him go the other way at 104, 105. Whereas like the pull side with him is amazing. Like when he connects pull side, it's you know what it is. It's amazing. But I do think that assuming, and again, like or Elvis Martinez, I don't know. Like,
Right.
but yeah,
Understood. Okay. Junior Caminero, aside from the gaudy raw pop, what's the thing that jumps out about him?
hits everything all the time. Devers, right? Like the thing that why I think Rafi Devers is like one of the more like is maybe the most underappreciated baseball player
Because
that there
yeah,
is.
'cause he's the best bad ball hitter in baseball.
Right, exactly. It's like here's your changeup at the shoes, and oh, it's 430 feet to center. Right, like it's just like he's a freak. He's an absolute freak, and we could do another hour on the number of stories people have told me about him in the Red Sox organization. Like he'll walk out. Well, here's one. Like he'll walk out and he'll be like, "I'm gonna hit 2 home runs today," and then he does it. Like I have heard that anecdotally from like 4 different people from
Do that
different
every
teams.
day. Why not just do that every day,
I
Rafi? Come
don't,
on.
it kind of is. But like, and so anybody that, and because you and I have seen so much AAA baseball, um, anybody who can do that, that you've changed the paradigm. Like you're different than everyone else. And there are questions about him, and health is obviously a question about Caminero. But like, if he can do that, which he can, like that you don't lose that skill and generate the exit velocities that he does consistently, like, come on. Like, come on.
Yeah. Jasson Dominguez. Why is he the most underrated prospect in baseball at this point?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
dude, like we've been barking up that tree, and Aram has been like the biggest pound the pavement guy for Jasson Dominguez because he overcame the prospect fatigue thing, reinvented who his profile was,
Mhm.
and now it looks like an all-star in a different way.
It's like, and I live in the American League East. I live in this world, and it's like Jasson Dominguez. Again, I don't need to tell people the Jasson Dominguez story, right? But like to be the Martian before you were like an adult,
Yes.
and then and then to get back to who he was, and then to get to the big leagues last year, and then exceed expectations. He doesn't belong here at AAA, and he's here because of injury, like and where the Yankees are and whatever. But like he, uh, oh my God, there's such a cliche. The ball just sounds different off his bat.
Yeah, but like sometimes it just does for guys.
Yeah, yeah, like it can just be true. Watch him play, watch him hit, watch him, watch him take BP. The ball just sounds different off his bat. And that's great. There are plenty of guys who do that and also strike out 33% of the time. And even if he does, he still might hit enough to live that way. Well, maybe not that much, but like in the conversation. And oh, by the way, he's better than that.
Right.
And that's where, again, that's where the floor starts.
Well, and it's crazy because that's who he was when he was 18. And now at 20 or 21 or 22, like that is not who he is anymore. Like
So,
he showed that you can change as a top prospect and still keep that top prospect billing, which is really cool.
and run.
And run like the win. Kyle Manzardo, I have yet to get a live look at him. My live look at Manzardo actually starts on Tuesday and kind of sucks because like I just wish he was up in the big leagues, but like I get it. And I love Jhonkensy Noel, and I love that he's getting this big league run. And I think that Jhonkensy Noel is a big leaguer, and he's got 3 homers in his first 8 games. But Manzardo, like, what should I be looking for with him? Obviously, the book on him is incredibly well rounded and the perfect blend of bat to ball and power. is he kind of fitting that Kjerstad mold where he's just too good for AAA pitching?
I think so, and it's a little hard. So my timeline on him is I got him the day he got sent down. So like he
Probably
was
playing pissed. Yeah.
right. Like so he's in the big leagues on the 18th. He was in Worcester on the 19th. But it's discipline. That's really what it is. And like we know what the hitter is, but I got to see him against we had kind of like a good run of pitching. Josh Winkowski was in Worcester. Isaiah Campbell, who's been a big league reliever for the Red Sox, here. And that's the higher end of AAA pitching. And maybe those names don't pop for people.
No, but like I've made it very clear AAA pitching is not good right
No.
now. Like that is the higher end of AAA
Yeah.
pitching.
And Josh Winkowski went to the big leagues and, threw, I think, like 1 run ball in his first 10 innings.
Yeah,
So it's real. And he just didn't, Manzardo just didn't swing at anything. It was something for him to match or he didn't swing at it. And this happens again. I anecdotally, I can tell you about so many guys that go to the big leagues, come back, and their discipline is that much better because the game is slower for them. And I've talked to guys about that. And I think that's what you see. We could do any Guardian and that whole like and we probably don't have enough time to do it, but like that whole Columbus deal is fascinating. Like Juan Brito, like the Nolan Jones trade guy,
yeah.
Angel Martinez, Tana. Oh my God, Tana just ripped us. Like, and you want to buy stock right now? Buy Jose Tana stock. Seriously,
I'm
like he's only I know he's up there now, but like he was only there because like they got to give Rocchio a shot, right? But like the exit velocity is like he's up there with Woods in the IL, like Jean-Kenzie Noel. You and I have talked about how much we love him, and like I want to watch that guy hit all the time. And like I'm sitting there and I'm like, the Guardians are gonna have all these guys up, and they kind of do. And this was like 2 weeks ago. They kind of do now, and like they've been rotating those it's like 5 of them that are all top 5-10 prospects in their organization, Manzardo included, obviously. Like I'm like the Guardians are either going to be really good or they're going to be able to trade for somebody awesome, and like it's going to be one of those two things.
Yeah, it's amazing, and not to mention they're going to add a 1-1 here, and like it's going to make it better. And at this point, like it looks like a middle infielder, right? It's either Bazana at second or Weatherhold at short / second. Like, hey,
Sure.
let's figure some shit out. Last guy that I want to kind of throw at you rapid fire is Victor Scott with the Cardinals, and I know that you got to see him in spring training, and you got to see him like in the process of winning a job out of camp when Carlson got hurt. And it kind of stunk that Scott went up probably prematurely because of an injury. And I made my opinion felt on the Adael Amador thing with Colorado. I was like, he should not be up because Brendan Rodgers got hurt. He should control his own route through the minor leagues. And it felt like Scott was of the ability to make the jump to the big leagues. But again, it was situational that got him to the big leagues, and like he got blown up. Why do you think he got blown up? Because obviously we know about the 80 speed and the athleticism and the ability to spray the ball all around. But like what do you think it was that
I think he got blown up by velo, right? Like I think that's the answer. This is a much bigger conversation about what is AAA, what is the value of this level.
Yeah.
But the value of the level is it's way better than AA. Like that, and there's a big gorge, and it's been talked about. You could put your head through plaster talking about the AAA to big league jump. Like that's fine, but there's still a lot of value in the level, and I think that's what you saw, right? Like it's like I don't know what the average AA fastball is. The average AAA fastball is 93. The average major league fastball is 94. That's a very big jump, but it's a lot closer than what the AA to big league jump is, right? And I think in this moment where you just don't see stuff, like you just don't see stuff at AAA the way that you do at the big league level, there's nothing you can do to prepare for it. And so you have to have your I's dotted and your T's crossed internally. Talk about cliches. I's and T's, in that situation at AAA before you go see all that stuff. And then it's like, oh, wait, like, can you hit it? But like, for him, to me, like it was like, okay, well, he had so many things internally that he had to work on, which is fine. Like he's young. It's cool. Like it's not a referendum on him. But like you have to be able to go to AAA and get yourself in order and then go to the big leagues and find out if you can hit that kind of stuff. I mean, you talked about it, right? Like you look at the rookie class, the number that somebody put in an article the other day is that there's 6 MLB players, 24 or younger, with an 800 OPS. And I don't, that's like, seriously, like, come
That's a
on.
very small number. Yeah.
And I think three, like Witt and Henderson are in that, right? Like they've been big leaguers, right? So it's like, Wilyer Brady's been awesome for the Red Sox. Ceddanne Rafaela has been awesome for the Red Sox. Willier's OPS as well is under 800 now. He was leading.
Yeah, I think it's like 770 now, but Rafaela is sitting at like 690.
680.
Yes.
Yeah, like and so like it's just so hard, man. And like that's what it is for Victor Scott. It's nothing more than that. It's just hard. You can't make that jump unless you're unbelievable.
Yeah. And listen, like Mike Harris was unbelievable. And there are other guys that have made that jump that have been unbelievable. And like talked about Tovar, it took Tovar about a year to become unbelievable at this point. But if a guy's going to make the jump from double A to the big leagues, like I 100% side that it should be a pitcher instead of a position
Yeah,
player because
totally. If you have
stuff
stuff, I would even argue that you really don't need triple A at all. Like if you have stuff that's good,
yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
In the PCL, I think you should skip the PCL if you're a pitcher. And I frankly think you should skip places like I know Drew Thorpe skipped Charlotte with the White Sox, and I think Iriarte is going to skip Charlotte, and I wouldn't be shocked if Noah Schultz skips Charlotte. Like if you can avoid a bandbox or the PCL, I think it's fine for a pitcher.
Yeah.
But in terms of hitters, like I think it's important to see that level of pitching increase level by level. All right.
I love you just got last thing. Like I love organizations that are aggressive, like that are intelligently aggressive.
For
And
sure.
like because we don't know what AAA is. People don't know what AAA is right now. Like it's brand new. Like everything it's way different than it was 5 years ago. So if you don't know what it is, make a decision, but make it in a strong way.
Dude, I mean, league average ERA in the IL is what, 4.94, and league average OPS is 771. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, I have no idea. Before you go, superlative time. Best position player you've seen since you got to Worcester, which is 2021, and best arm that you've seen. And I'm going to do the same thing with Indy. We'll start
Okay.
with position player. For me, I didn't get to see Ellie De La Cruz last year. I was kind of pissed about it. Mason Wynn stood out among the group. I was just like, I was enamored with watching him play shortstop. I was enamored with watching him hit. I was like, this guy is the one.
I saw him in spring training and I was like, oh, I
Yeah,
get it now.
I get it now.
Throw
Yeah,
the ball crazy. I think, and we have talked about him already, is Kerstad. It just special, just silly. And the one thing I didn't say about it is like the level of maturity around him. Like people talk about him as a person,
yeah.
and stuff like that gets a little overblown. Like, oh, he's a good guy. Like you
But
and I,
he was dealt a shit hand, man. Myocarditis post COVID. Like, are you kidding? Coming
yeah,
back from that, missing what, 400 days, 500 days?
yeah. And it's like that you go two ways on that, right? Like this. Like you go two ways. You get mad at the world or you get better. And he's done the other. Like I just can't believe that it won't be good for him very soon.
Yeah. Best arm you saw. So like for me, obviously Skeens, because I'm sitting next to Howard Kelman. By the way, big congrats to my broadcast partner in Indy, Howard Kelman, who just got the booth named after him, the Howard Kelman.
Congratulations, Howard.
Very cool. But it was funny. Alex Cohen of Iowa was in, and Aram was there as well. And Aram was like, "Who's the best player you've ever seen come through here?" And Howard said Paul Skeens. And we were like, holy shit. Like, you called Randy Johnson starts for a year and a half here. And he was like, yeah, but Johnson had control issues. Skeens is throwing 100 like on the perimeter. And I was just like, you broke my brain in the best way. So Skeens, like, I'm totally validated. That is the best arm that I've ever seen in the minor leagues. The other name that jumps out to me is Gavin Williams. Like, seeing Gavin Williams throw in AAA, I was floored with how good he was, and he was
Wow.
putting 101 on the outside corner to righties ad nauseum. And I was like, this is unbeatable at the major league level. And he's been really good when he's been healthy. Who's the arm that jumps out to you?
Tanner Bybee. That's the Guardian.
Our
Like, did you see
guy,
him?
our guy.
Did you? Yeah, I I mean, he showed up and it was like I forget what he did. I don't know if it was six scoreless. I don't know if it was 7 innings, a one-run ball. It doesn't matter. He left this impression of just like, what the hell just happened? Like,
Do you remember I texted you after you called a Bobby start in Worcester because he showed up to the ballpark wearing a JB hoodie, and that was
yeah,
huge for us,
that's
big for the brand. And then he got the call up right after.
dude, I mean, that is the thing that, as you know, for people to take away here is like, as you try to evaluate people at AAA, especially arms, and that's why I say like you can make a jump from AA to big leagues because there are so few guys that make you stop and say, "Oh shit!" Like, "Oh my God!" Like he just did that. He is this way, and obviously last year was amazing, and this year hasn't been as amazing
Yeah.
for him, but like you can't not believe in that. You can't not. It was just a joy. It was like we were like halfway through the outing, and I was like, I could do this forever.
Yeah. Cooper, this has been a phenomenal, man. I think it's going to be fewer than 3 years before you come back. Cool.
Hell yeah, 2027 is gonna be awesome.
We'll line it up like subdue. So it's like you come on during the Euros, you'll come on during the World Cup, and then like the
Okay,
next Euros and the next World Cup. So like 2 years.
that's perfect. That's perfect. Meyer, Teal, and Anthony will be 1, 2, and 3. Devers will be 4. The Red Sox will be World Series champions. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm in, man. This was awesome. Appreciate you. I'll see you in Charlotte in a week or so. But every link you guys need is in the episode description. Open to sit down with Braxton Ashcraft. Aram still gallivanting through Europe, but we'll be back to kind of preview the futures game at the end of this week too. So we will talk to you a little bit later this week.